And we are live. Hi, good evening, everyone. Welcome to She Built It, Boss Lady Chronicles. I am Sharita Gaskin-Salet. I am your host. I am so excited to have you guys with us tonight. I am super excited about tonight's guest. If you are watching live, please say hi in the comments. Tell us where you're watching from. If you're watching the replay, hashtag replay. Still tell us where you're watching from. Whether you're watching live or watching the replay, put your questions in the chat because I think we're going to have some good questions for this guest because she's somebody that we all need. Well, I guess I should speak for myself, but I definitely benefit from from her gifts and talents. So let's see. I'm going to go ahead and read her bio, and we'll get right to it. So I have joining me tonight Nikki Boyd. Nikki is a charismatic home lifestyle influencer, professional organizer, and a published best-selling author who loves injecting eloquence. I'm sorry, my eyes, guys. I'm sorry, I don't have my glasses on. Injecting eloquence and grace into living and business spaces. A home and work lifestyle expert, she inspires people to transform their home and work into a beautiful haven where love blossoms and relationships flourish. Nikki embraces unique design perspectives and actively shares her home and work organization ideas with the admirers of contemporary design. Nikki Boyd is a trendsetter with a massive fan base surpassing 553,000 YouTube subscribers and 124,000 Instagram followers. She has authored the best-selling book, Beautifully Organized, A Guide to Function and Style in Your Home, and Beautifully Organized Home Planner, the ultimate step-by-step guide to organizing your home. Nikki has also been featured on leading media outlets, including the New York Times, Martha Stewart's Living, First for Women magazine, USA Today magazine, Ebony magazine, The Washington Post, and CNN. Empowering people to create home management systems tailored to their exclusive needs, Nikki Boyd shares expertise in helping others channel their creative passions to design functional and stylish homes. An avid traveler and admirer of natural beauty, she cherishes spending time with her family, making new memories, and revamping homes. Welcome, Nikki.
Hi, I am so glad to be here. Hi, Sharita.
I am so happy to have you here. Great to see you again. Nikki and I have met in person a couple of times. And when I started this show and I was thinking about boss ladies that I wanted to introduce to you, Nikki was about at the top of my list.
Oh, thank you. I am so honored and so excited to be here.
Wonderful. Well, let us jump right in. And I guess I usually start by asking people if they were born. Well, no, the first question I'm going to ask you is when you think of the term boss lady, what do you think?
Oh, I think of someone who is just inspiring, a go-getter, um, someone who is passionate, definitely, strength, all that good stuff.
Yeah. Now, so keeping that in mind, do you think you were born a boss lady or did you have to develop those characteristics?
I definitely was born a boss lady. I actually had I was named Big Lucy as a child because I used to the little boys. I used to throw them in Christmas trees, and I was the boss lady, and I always had to run the show around the house. And I had my little kitchen as a little girl, and I was the boss lady. So yeah, I always just love, even as a teenager, my friends, they always tell me nowadays, like, I remember when you were always starting up clubs for us and starting up things for us to do. And I always loved initiating businesses and things as a child. So it's in my blood.
Oh, wow. So tell us, what were some of those childhood businesses? I'm curious now.
We had the Wackos, the Wild and Crazy Kids organization. So we just,
Oh, okay.
yeah, so we just went around the neighborhood and just did fun things. And so that was one of them. And Then I had a crafting club for kids where we would go and do our fun little crafts. I had created a journaling club, just where we would come in every day after school, come journal our day. And so, yeah, just anything I could think of, I was doing. I was going to
Okay.
do.
So now you're a professional organizer.
Yes.
Were you always a professional organizer? How did you get into this niche?
Yeah. Well, I was a messy kid, so organization was it was not always my thing. My
Okay.
dad would go; he would come see my room would be a disaster, and he would say, "You got 5 minutes to get in there and clean that room," and I would go, and in 5 minutes, I would literally have that disaster clean. And
Oh,
then,
wow.
and my dad was a military man, so when he came in to do the inspection, it would look beautiful. But then when he go to open that closet, everything fell on him. When he went, I was to throw it in the closet and under the bed, girl.
So see, here I was thinking you were a kid organizing already, but no, you were
No,
throwing it all in the closet.
no. Oh no, not when it came to my room. I had the messiest room. And it wasn't until I got my first place as a young adult that I had so much pride. And that's when it clicked for me. And then even more so marrying a military man, because, he would come home and say, we have to move overseas in 2 months. Or, I feel like I was always in that situation where I had to pack us up and get us to our new location. But because in the military, you're only staying somewhere like 3 years, you don't have a long period of time to settle in, And so
Sure.
I really honed in on my organizational skills as a military spouse.
Wow. And so you said you only had, a few years there and it was hard to settle in. Did that mean you kind of streamlined what you had?
Well, yes, I always would try to declutter before packing up, before the packers came, because I didn't want to take all this stuff with us. And then oftentimes, when you move, your home is never the same. Sometimes it's smaller, sometimes it's bigger. And so that decluttering process is always the most difficult, right? It's always getting rid of this
Absolutely.
stuff. Yeah. And so, but it was always one of the core things that I did before I packed up. And so I really got knowledgeable in how to efficiently pack a home and declutter a home. Yeah.
Okay. So then how did that turn into a business?
So, after years of just following my husband, and really I have a colorful resume because wherever we went, that's just kind of where I found a job and kind of just was supporting his career. And then when he went to retire, he was like, look, you have supported me my entire career. It is time for you to follow your dreams. Whatever you want to do, it's my turn to support you in whatever you want to do. And I was like, well, at this point, is it sit on the couch and enjoy a Kit Kat every day? I don't know. And I really was at that point. I was
Sure.
at a lost point of, I knew it was something because I've always been that girl, but I just didn't know what it was. And that was the part for me. And then I was deep in my 40s at that point. So, it's even more of a like, okay, what is it? But I remember when we lived in England, there was this lady, this was before YouTube. And YouTube, not even before YouTube, YouTube was unknown basically. And there was this lady who had 10 kids. And her and her husband had 10 kids. They were in the military. And I remember going over her house to craft one day. And it was so peaceful. It was so quiet. We had the best time. We weren't interrupted. And I was so baffled about how she curated a home that she could have 10 kids and have this much peace. And I was so impressed. And I remember her telling me when I was over there that, she was telling me how she shows her crafts on YouTube. And I didn't even know what YouTube was. And I really didn't get into it too much.
Sure.
But then when we moved back to the States, I remembered that. And then I was home one day and you're just trying to figure my life out at 40 something. And I just started turning on the camera and recording myself doing whatever it is, whatever I was doing around my house, whatever I was organizing, cleaning, and I just put it on that YouTube. And it wasn't the point of anybody watching it because the only people were watching was my mom. It was the
Right.
Yeah. It was the point of just being able to share and feel like I was kind of sharing what's worked for me and sharing how I do this in kind of more of a tutorial base. And then over time, people just started attaching to it and following. And so then from that point, in 2017 is when I decided to just transition to another part and make it a business. And I opened the doors to my professional organizing business at that time.
Okay. And so what kind of services do you offer? Is it online? Is it in person? Is it a little of both?
Yeah. So I starting out, I had online services and in-person services. And so I've done that up into the last year. And now I'm transitioning into strictly doing online services because it is a tasking job to go into homes and deal with people's stuff. It is exhausting. Look, I'm deep in 50s now. So, I can't keep that up. And so now I'm really building a life that is enjoyable, one that is doable, and how I can still be of service to other women around the world. And Sharita, I love the virtual services because I'm able to connect with women all over the world.
Yeah.
Right from my office right here, and I
Right.
love it.
It definitely broadens your reach.
Yes.
Speaking of reach, I want to reach back a little bit to something that you said earlier.
Mhm.
You talked about your husband giving you that opportunity to think about what it is that you really wanted. And that really struck me because so many women don't take that time to think about what it is they really, really want.
Yes.
And, how did you go about that discovery process?
Yeah.
What kind of things did you do to help you figure it out?
Yeah. Sometimes it's just about, and what I had to do is just sit in it, pray, sit in it, and wait for you to figure it out, because you can jump on things and then you just kind of trial and error, or you can sit back and really reflect on kind of what it is, and not be afraid to take that time, and it's hard because sometimes, you're fighting against what people expect from you
Yeah.
and what you really truly want to do. And sometimes what we truly want to do doesn't match up to what people expect or what we even expect ourselves to do.
Right, right.
So I had to truly just sit back and say, what do you really erase what everybody think you should do? What do you really want to do? And so I just gave myself the grace and the time to sit in it. Yeah.
So what is it that people thought you should be doing different than what you were doing?
Yeah, well, because I come from working as a social worker, going from, I've had a colorful work history. I've worked in schools and social work in corporate America. And so, a lot of folks think that, you go back into the workforce, so you go back
Sure.
to the 9 to 5, or, but who thinks a 40-ish woman is going to go and be a YouTuber? That's,
Right, right.
just, and especially back then, it just was like, so, but it's what truly I enjoy doing. I enjoy getting up, turning that little Panasonic point and shoot camera on and recording whatever I wanted to record for the day. But
Yeah, and I think that brings up another point too, is that, if we allow people to put us in a box, we will stay there. We are all multidimensional. And so
right,
while I'm sure you were a very gifted social worker and educator and counselor and all of those other things, you are equally gifted in this area. And
yeah,
I think it's, you kind of do the world a disservice when you aren't allowed to follow your passions and not allowed to pivot into another career. There's absolutely positively nothing wrong with that.
no, and in the end, we have to live our life, right? So if
Yes.
we're living our life not in our purpose, not what we love, we're miserable, right? It's just
Yes.
it's a battle that we're doing every morning to get up and go.
Yes.
And so in the end, do we want to live a life like that? No.
Right, right.
Ultimately,
Yeah.
no.
And I host retreats and women's empowerment events. And one of the things I talk about is that we only get one life. And we don't have a lot of time here. Really goes by very, very quickly. And I notice that all the more as a parent, as I watch my daughter age, like it seems like I blink my eyes and she's aged another couple of years, that we don't have a lot of time. And you want to make the best use of the time that you have, and you really want to enjoy your life and
Yes,
not have it be this life of obligation and drudgery and
yes,
just going through the motions. I call it life by default, where you're just doing the things that people expect of you, or that you feel like that the box that you put yourself in, the things that you feel like you have to do, instead of following your heart,
that's
your heart's
That's
desire.
right. That's right. And I think that we have this mentality that tend to think that we're supposed to hustle, 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 hustle all our life and then enjoy it. And then
Right,
by that time you're older. It's harder
right.
to and no, we want to enjoy all of life. You should be able to enjoy every point, even if you have those times where you're in school and you're doing things, but you still want to curate a life that's just joyful in what you desire.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So now you started organizing for yourself, and then you were doing this on YouTube and just recording it. Now, I actually admire that because, video has not been easy for me.
Me neither. I'm
I,
still learning.
I am an introverted introvert. So the fact that you turned on a camera and just started doing things, is really admirable.
Well, you know what I did? I actually, for the first a couple of weeks, I recorded it, and no one saw it but my mom. And I would just record it, but I wouldn't put it out to the world. And then I would send it to her, and she was like, "Oh, go put it on that YouTube thing. Just put it out there." And then she actually encouraged me to do that. But that's the beautiful thing about it, is you can, if that's something that anyone is interested in doing, you always can just do it in the privacy of your own home, and you don't have to show it to anyone. Just
Right.
to get a feel for it, because it is intimidating to be on camera and film and that kind of thing.
Okay, so now tell us how things took off because, again, you've now gone from recording videos in your house to Nikki at home. And
Yeah.
so I want to know how that happened. And actually I'm going to tell you guys a funny story. So like I said, I've met Nikki a couple of times in person, and I actually received her book. I think it was this one, The
Beautifully
Beautiful
organized. Yes.
book. Yeah, I think I received this book at an event I attended, and I happened to be watching Amazon one day, and there was this organizer named Nikki who was showing us. I forget what project we were working on, and then it was like it dawned on me. Wait a minute, that's the same lady from the book.
All over the place.
Yeah, so how did you go from being Nikki in her house recording videos that her mom watched to being Nikki at home?
So it's like, my mom was just watching. And then because I kept with consistency, and I think that's important, that the things
Mhm.
that we're passionate about and that we love, it's important to be consistent with it and to be present with it. And I was with that with the content, no matter when my mom was watching, then maybe 5 people were watching. They may still have all been relatives, and then maybe 10. And so it was that day that someone that had a larger following hit my
Mhm.
channel and saw something that I can't remember exactly what I was sharing, and it resonated with her, and she shared it with her viewership,
Uh,
and it just wooed a lot of people. A lot of people just came my way, and from that point, the more people that get see you, the more that shares, and it just started building up to where then brands started noticing. And so then I started working with brands, and after I opened the door to my business, then I was contacted by my publisher for my books, and I did hold off because, again, I was strong in my conviction of doing at the time what brought me, joy in my life. And when the publishers reached out, I really, at that point, as exciting as it was, I knew it wasn't the time. It was not the time for me. And so,
Mhm.
although I held off on it for a couple years, and then when the time was right, I jumped on it, and it was the perfect time. If I would have did it any other time, it wouldn't have been what it was today. The success, I don't think, would have been there, because it wasn't the timing. The time, it wasn't right. But
Yeah.
and then after the books, I just kept on from there. Yeah.
Wow. So tell us about the Amazon
Yeah.
Live that you do.
Yeah. And so I've been doing the Amazon Live a little over 2 years now. Well, going on 3 years now. Sheree, time just goes so fast.
It does. We just talked about that.
It just goes so fast. And so it's been going on 3 years now that I have been doing Amazon. And what I do is, for so many years, I've shared my organizing tips and ideas and all of that. But what I love about now being on the Amazon platform is it gives me the ability to share the products that I use to organize, and to share things that come out, and just to kind of, we review things together, and then I can share tips to a different audience, the folks that are shopping on Amazon. And so I go live on Amazon every Wednesday at 7 p.m. Eastern time. And I spend about an hour just talking about just different Amazon products that help us with our work, home, and life, and to organize that. Because as you know, organization really helps reduce stress, save you time, and save you money. And I love being able to share those tools that can help us get there.
So how did you start helping other women? Because you talked about I know you're doing the YouTube and now the
Mhm.
show, But what about, I know, and that you actually help people in their houses, but now
Yeah.
you're actually getting into showing other people how to organize their spaces.
Yes.
How did that become a thing, and why was that important to you?
Well, it was a natural progression because as I was sharing and as my viewership started seeing, and it was like friends. Some of my friends, viewers, I call them my friends because they've been with me since the beginning when I was like just in that green craft room and the footage was awful. And all these years, so many of these same women are my friends right by my side, seeing my growth, seeing my change. And then I get so much feedback of, how did you get started? Or can you show me? I love organizing. And it just naturally kind of put something in me. You know what? It's time for me to move into sharing how to do this, how to start this up. And so that's when I kind of started that. I have my master course now where you can take my master course and learn how to become a professional organizer and set up your own business. And I love just I have a At Work with Nikki YouTube channel where I talk more on work tips and work things. And so it really just is a great complement to At Home with Nikki.
So why is it important to have an aesthetic work environment?
Because we spend so many hours of our life at work. And if we're going to invest that much time into our life, it should be something that really feeds our soul, something that doesn't stress us out as much as possible, and something that we truly enjoy going to. And that's not always an option. Like sometimes, and I start in my book, Beautifully Organized at Work. I talk about in the beginning of the book how I had a really tough work
That one too.
environment. Oh, yeah. Thank you, Sharita. And I talk about how I had a really tough work environment. My husband was deployed. I was in a new city, didn't know anybody, and I started this new job that was just tough work environment. And how I was able, as one employee that nobody knew, the new girl, and how I was able to come in and really transform that work environment, not only for me, but for my coworkers. And it was by taking ownership of my little cubicle and what I could do to really make it beautiful, to make it inviting, down to just simply putting a lamp on the desk. The light that I put on the desk just really changed my whole environment of sitting in that. Even though the craziness was around me, my little corner felt good. And so that's what that book is about, how tips on how you can bring that joy to work. Yeah.
So then you've always been an influencer of
Oh, yeah.
sorts. So I actually want to hear more about that. So you say you beautified your space and then it became contagious. Did
Yeah.
people kind of follow, kind of mimic what you did, or did they ask you for your advice? What happened?
Actually, yes, they would come in and you'd walk past my workstation and you see the beautiful, because I would bring in, I always believed in, even though I worked for a company, I always used my own personal accessories, like my pen and my stapler, because I'm using it all day and I wanted it to feel special. I love beautiful office equipment, office tools. And so walking by my cubicle every day, and it's funny because you would look, how cubicles are, you see above
Yes.
all the cubicles when you walk in. Well, you saw this one ray of light coming from this one cubicle that had this soft light, because I always like to use soft bulbs in harsh work environments because it softens the space. And you just notice it and it gave you a feeling, that's what organization and that's what beautifying your space do. It gives you a good feeling. And so next thing I know, the lady that was across from me started bringing her lamp in, started sprucing up her space. And then next, management was asking me to kind of help in some ideas to beautify the space. And they were even wanting to invest money into it. And so
Oh, wow.
so just kind of be the example, go in and be the example. And that's the power that I had at that point. Um,
Yeah.
yeah.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So, you now, like I said, you translated from the workplace to the home place.
Yeah.
Now, if I already admitted to you, I am a person who does not have that organization gene. I like things to be pretty, but I don't have the eye to look and, automatically be able to beautify. So, where would you suggest somebody like me start?
Mhm. I suggest starting small, because sometimes when you try to start big, it's overwhelming and you're like, I can't figure this thing out. So go to that drawer. It may be what we call that junk drawer. I like to call it a utility drawer because we don't call anything in our home junk, that utility drawer. And it's about just taking everything out the drawer and then resetting that drawer with just the things you want in there, and just work to beautify it. Even if it takes you a week, just work to make it beautiful, make it even Pinterest worthy, just so that when you open it, you feel accomplished, and that builds the motivation, because starting with that next drawer, then you're ready to tackle that linen closet. So I recommend starting there. I also recommend when you're out shopping and in your department stores, look at how they arrange things. And I always like to pretend like when I'm arranging things in my home that I work in a high-end department store, because they spend thousands of dollars on folks to come in and arrange things to attract us. And so that is a great free tool to use. It's just look how they fold the towels, look how they stack the towels, and try to mimic that in your home. And that's a great tool to use too when you're trying to beautify a space. And then lastly, Sharita, is to think about the five senses. Think about the sense of taste and smell. And when you're going in that room, okay, what can I do to really enhance the smell? What can I do to enhance touch? Putting a beautiful throw over the chair, or, just and use that to kind of guide how to implement things in the space.
So you talked about the five senses. Do you use music too? Or
Yes.
something
Yes.
for the ears? Yeah.
Yes. Because if you think about it, have you ever had or went to like a dinner party or over a friend's house and they don't have music on and it feels awkward? Like there's people there, they may not know each other, but anytime you go in a space and there's music playing, there is just a natural vibe, a natural relaxation. It feels good. And so even when you're home alone, just music just changes your environment. And I often, especially when I have guests or when it's just me and I want peace, I love instrumental music. Just no words, no talking, just the sound of the music. And it's just really calming.
Yeah. Yeah. So now what do you do as far as smell? That, I know there's different things. What's one of your go-tos? And especially like if you're in a work environment, what
Yeah.
would you do there?
Yeah. So a work environment is a little touchy because of people, people are very sensitive to smells and things like that. But you can do things in your specific office where it won't affect them. Like I always like putting a bar of scented soap behind, like in a file cabinet in the back, or in a cabinet in the back, or even at home, if you have a cabinet, just throw a bar of soap back there. And when you open it, it's just such an unexpected but beautiful scent. And you can go, how you go to Home Goods and they have those
I was
beautiful
gonna say, what
soaps?
kind of soaps? You need to see people.
Yeah,
You gotta do
beautiful soaps that are wrapped so beautifully in Home Goods and all those
Yeah.
places. Yeah, just put a bar of those soaps in the back. Also, another thing is if you use those air freshener pods and things, when they get old, don't get rid of them. Just put them in your cabinet in the back, because they still will illuminate. They still will bring out the scent even after they're old. So that's something else that you can do there. Or old candles and stuff just sit in the back and hidden, and it really can help. But one of my favorite tips is to use countertop spray. I love Caldrea, because after you clean your kitchen
countertop spray.
yeah, it's countertop spray, and my
Okay.
favorite brand is Caldrea, Caldrea. And when you finish cleaning your kitchen, you just spray that, or the bathroom, and spray that counter and wipe it down. Sharita, when you walk in the next morning, it's just a light scent, but it smells so good. It's also something that's great on your desktop to use. But it's just something that really just the next day when you come into that space, it gives you just a light scent of joy. It's really beautiful.
Very nice.
Yeah.
So how do you get the whole family involved? So I mean, because a lot of us are mostly women are watching this, and some of us are mothers, and we live with other people, and the other people might not be on board with things being organized and neat and smelling good. So how do you get how do you get the rest of the people on board?
Yeah, more times than they're not on board, right? Right? It's like, oh my goodness, and so it's just like a business. If you have a company, and you work for a company, and everyone just comes to work, and you never talk, you never meet, you never establish goals. The company heads never establish goals. It's hard to be successful, right? It's about having that conversation and communication that really is effective for the family. So I recommend having weekly family meetings. This doesn't have to be anything that's so like sitting at the table and everybody's uptight, but it can be in the den and everybody's just kind of laid back, but you're having a specific conversation. And I have an agenda that I share in my books on things that I recommend that you talk about in a family meeting. One is checking in with each other. Just everybody go around the room and say, hey, what's your highlight of the week and what was your tough spot of the week. Because
Hmm.
we're all going all the time. So just doing that
Right.
check-in.
Yeah.
The next is talking about, okay, issues. A lot of times is when your son is putting the towel on the floor and you're tired of him putting the towel on the floor. Sometimes that is not the time to address it with him because you're upset, you're going to rant, you're going to be sarcastic. But having those family meetings gives everybody the time to really discuss things in a productive way for the home. The other thing that great meetings are great for is teaching life skills, teaching the kids how to load the dishwasher, how to fold a towel, how to do those things that are really going to contribute to the family and things that they can take with them as an adult. So family meetings are a great time to infuse some type of learning activity for life skills in that, along with meal planning. Because for me, one of the worst questions that I can get in a day is, "What's for dinner?" And I have no clue. Sharita, that right
I
there, just
second, I second and third that emotion.
because you're tired, you don't want to think about dinner, and then you're like, I don't know what I'm going to throw together for the family. And
Right.
so
Right.
those meetings can be great for taking that off the table. What I like to encourage folks to do is families to have a inspiration meal list. And what this list is, it's just a combination of all the meals you typically eat as a family: spaghetti, steak and potatoes, just meal combinations. And then
Sure.
in those meetings, just pick 5 for the week, and it's just plug and play. And every member can have a day that they choose the meal for the day. And so I think incorporating the family into kind of the meal planning, it takes the load off. It really takes the load off.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I like this. I like all of this.
Yeah,
What other tips do you have? Because you talked about curating a home
yeah,
that that's peaceful and aesthetic and all of those things. And I really hadn't thought about how much having the family meeting, having a meal plan, having specific tasks and those kind of things all come into play. I think when someone talks about when I think about a professional organizer, I think about somebody coming in and just straightening things up. I
yeah.
don't think about them coming in and actually transforming the way that your house runs and your family functions.
Yes. And the thing that one of the biggest tips that is simple to do is incorporate a 15-minute end of the day or end of the night sweep for the family. And that's where you can, even with a family of 4, you can take 5 minutes and say, okay, right before you go to bed, just walk through the house and pick up whatever you can pick up, put the remote control back, wipe the counter, no structure, just whatever you can do for 5 minutes. That really helps maintain the home. And if you think about it, a 5 minutes, a family of 4, that's 20 minutes of cleaning up, you know.
Yeah.
So that, but what's key about it is doing it consistently every night as a family. Right before we go to bed, we do a clean sweep. We just do a 5-minute sweep, and then everybody goes to bed, or everybody does it before they go to bed. Um, and that really can help. That's really impactful in helping keeping the home in order.
So I know for me, one of the biggest areas of challenge has been my daughter's closet
Yeah.
because kids grow so quickly
Yeah.
that they outgrow the clothing, and then it's like the closets, the drawers is never ending. What guidance do you have for that area?
Yeah. I think when it comes to kids, take the pressure off. Kids could care less if the clothes are on hangers and color coded and all of that. And so, what I encourage you to do is take the pressure off of feeling like you always have to fold the clothes and have them in order, but more so have a system of knowing what each item is. So, I always recommend for families to use bins and categorize like the by sizes, because then this bin is for these pants in this size, or for pants, and then you can just take that bin down and purge out clothes as they outgrow
Mhm.
them. But
Okay.
then it takes the pressure off of having to fold clothes and try to keep things orderly, because when you have little ones, it's time is not on your side.
It's not.
And if you can save those minutes of having to fold their clothes, and it makes it easier too. It takes the pressure off your kid, too, because they can just go to that bin and easily get what they want to wear and put it back. But everything still looks neat. You know what I'm saying? Everything still looks neat. So bins for kids, are really, really great, for organizing their closets. Yeah.
So, what advice do you have for someone who would like to follow in your footsteps to
Yeah.
maybe become an influencer or become a professional organizer? What kind of tips do you have for someone like that?
So if you want to be an influencer and you want to kind of like do YouTube videos or Instagram, anything like that, I would say just do it. Turn on that camera. We all have that phone. Technology is one now where you can talk, you can go and put yourself out there right now. And even if you are, kind of apprehensive about doing it, like I said before, just record it. Don't show anyone. Just look at it and then kind of play around with it until you feel comfortable with it. But if you're passionate about it, I really encourage you just to put it out there and see what happens. When it comes to organizing, I say work with family and friends first. Like, take that friend and say, hey, let me pretend like you're a client of mine and let me come in and organize your pantry. And then kind of hone in on the skills of just kind of seeing, you want to make sure this is something you truly want to do, because it is a lot of work. Sometimes we can see things and you go on Pinterest and it looks all beautiful and it's inspiring, but it's a lot to get to that point, right? So you want to make sure it's something you truly want to do. So working, kind of taking on some family and friends is a great way to get your feet wet in it. I also, like I said, have a master course where I walk you through setting up your business and kind of all the tricks of the trade and kind of how to work with clients, because, everyone is different and you have your sentimentalist and you have different personality types and just how to work with those personalities. And so that's a good way to start too, is by taking that course.
So now you mentioned the sentimentalist.
Yeah.
I need more information about that, because I'm assuming that those are the people who are attached to things and don't want to let go of things. So
Yes.
how do you navigate that?
Yeah. First, I have to meet folks where they're at, because it's really touchy. Because if I'm with someone and maybe they're attached to things because they just recently had their mom pass away, and those are their mom's things, and so it's really not the time to do it. So I meet people where they're at. So what I'll say is like, let's not worry about your mom's stuff. Let's go organize your kitchen cabinet and just get them in the motion of it. And I always find this always works. Once they start the process of organizing clear, then they become ready to deal with that.
Okay.
But I never start with something that is really, on the heart with them and difficult for them at the time.
Sure.
Yeah. But as far as folks that just love to hold on to their stuff, I try to work with them to really curate just a the special things, and then we don't have to have all 20 shirts, let's just pare it down to 5.
Right.
Our artwork, a lot of kids, moms, I noticed they love, I can't throw away their artwork. They drew it, they gave it to me, but it's all over the place. And so what I do is I say, look, you truly can't enjoy that, right? You can't. So how about we take the artwork, snap pictures of it, so that if you're at work, you can swipe through it, you can enjoy it, and only keep like 5 of them or 5 per year, and we'll organize it so that you can maintain it. But definitely I try to give them alternate ways to treasure those things that don't require them to clutter, live in clutter. Yeah.
How often do you recommend that we declutter?
Oh, all the time. People think of organization like, I'll do it and it's done, but it's kind of like cleaning your home. It always needs to be a part of your routine. So, for example, when you're cleaning your kitchen at night, we always make sure the dishes are done, right? Because we don't want to wake up with dirty dishes in the sink. The same with organization. Like when you clean your kitchen, incorporate resetting one drawer or one cabinet every night. So that all that means is going in there, just kind of straighten out. If you see something you don't use, take it out, put it in the car so you can donate it. You have a donate bin in your trunk, donate it. So just kind of incorporating those mini organizing sessions as you're cleaning in your daily cleaning. Yeah.
Okay. Now, and you and I, we talked off camera about the hoarders.
Okay. Yeah.
Because you told me you've been in some hoarding kind of situations.
Yeah.
And so what do you recommend for people who may find themselves to be hoarders or have hoarders in their lives? How do you recommend that they approach becoming more organized?
Yeah. So a hoarder situation is different because it's not, it's something that a psychologist really needs to come in, because that is something on a whole different level of just someone who is messy and just needs someone to come help them get it straight. Because what will happen is if you have a family member or you have an inkling that you are a hoarder, because the word gets thrown around a lot, hoarder, I'm a hoarder, but you're not necessarily a hoarder, but a true hoarding situation, a professional organizer, unless they have a psychologist on staff or they are really trained as a psychologist, they're not going to be able to help that person because they need that component of it. So I never take on those clients because I would just be taking their money, because once you organize it, they haven't solved the problem and fixed the problem. So it's going to go back and it's going to be hurtful to them. So I would never do that. So if you have a family member or you think that you are in that hoarder situation, you want to hire professionals to help you with that can really specialize in that, in hoarder situations. Yeah.
So I have enjoyed talking with you so much, as I always do.
Oh,
But I want you to tell us how people can work with you. Where can they find your books? You told us about the Amazon Live show Wednesdays at 7 p.m. Eastern.
yes.
But tell us all the different ways we can connect with you.
Okay. So I'm at home with Nikki, and I spell Nikki Nikki. So at home with Nikki everywhere, Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn, Facebook, all of those places, YouTube. And then also my website is athomewithnikki.com. And then also I'm on Amazon Live, which you can just go to. Well, I would go to At Home with Nikki, and it will take you to the Amazon Lives. And then also I have a public Facebook page for the Amazon Lives, because often when I'm sharing stuff, folks like to share things with me. And so Facebook allows us to do that. And that's if you go to friendgirls.us. And that will, because we call ourselves the Friend Girls on Amazon. So friendgirls.us will take you to that Facebook page.
Oh, okay. And then what about the books? How do we get the books? We need the books.
Yes, and books can be found anywhere books are sold. You can get them on Amazon, Barnes and Noble, Books A Million, all the bookstores, Target, Walmart.
Now, am I remembering correctly that you have some organization cards? Don't you have
Yes,
cards?
yes. The beautifully organized in 52 weeks.
Okay. Yeah, I knew I was remembering that.
I still need to get you, and I'm glad you say that, because I still need to get you a box of those cards, because I think they just had released when it came to. But yeah, this is a great tool for spring cleaning, because basically you just pull one card per week, and I have it broken down to tasks. Each card is a task, and as you work through the box, you start to see your home come.
Can you read us a couple of cards just so we have an idea of what's in there? And then we can get these on Amazon or someplace.
Yes, these are also, it's beautifully organized in 52 weeks card deck. And so this one here is specifically on the pantry. And so what I do is I give you a little write-up on how to get started with it. But my book, Beautifully Organized, gives you additional tips on organizing the pantry. So they work well together. But this is like, it's time to dive into organizing your pantry. Begin by removing everything from the pantry and take a look at the expiration dates for each item, including canned goods, spices, and box items. If you can't locate the date and you don't remember when you purchased the item, it's best not to err on the side of caution and toss it out. Now is also a great time to wipe down the pantry shelves and remove any collected dust or grime. And then next, organize your pantry into categories and determine how much space each category will need and who will need access to it. I also recommend organizing your pantry items into baskets, bins, and storing staple food items in clear labeled mason jars, because that's one of my favorite tips there. And so it's a guide to help you, and you have all week to do it. This is the card of the week. And so once you finish that, you just pull the next one. And then as you work through the 52 cards, at the end, your house is done. You're good.
Right. So then you just start over again the next year.
Yeah, it's a great maintenance. It's a great maintenance system. Absolutely. But I had always been asked that question, Nikki, where do I start my home? And so I wanted to create a tool where you just would use this. You didn't have to think about that.
Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah. I love it. I can't wait. So I need my cards, Nikki.
Yeah, I'm gonna say yes. And look, I'm gonna put your name on this box here because it's
okay. All right. All right, you guys watching, do you have any questions for Nikki? I appreciate the comments that are in the chat. Somebody said that we should talk about the family meetings and the meal planning, and also actually talked about making books of the children's artwork. Just we've had some engagement. If you have questions for Nikki, put them in the chat. I can ask them now. If you leave them, I can always pass them on to her and see to it that they get answered in the chat. But Nikki, thank you so much for spending some time with us this evening and sharing your gifts and your talents with us. and just giving us a different perspective. I very, very much appreciate the perspective of, just the whole totality of a beautified home, that it's not just the surroundings, but also the organization with and involving the family, and the five senses and all of those things. I very much appreciate that tip, that knowledge,
Yeah,
and can't wait to implement some of it, especially like the soap and the counter spray. Tell me that counter spray again. It
it's
was
called Caldrea,
Caldrea.
Caldrea. And I also want to mention that if you on athomewithnikki.com, if you go to at the top, you go to shop and you go to my um, digital products, I have the family meeting agenda already broken down. It's a printable that you can print out, and it will walk you through setting up that family meeting. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Well, thank you guys for watching with us tonight. Um, Go and follow Nikki everywhere. Get her books. Get the cards. You can't go wrong. Get your house in order.
Yes.
Thank you so much. We will see you all next week. Thanks again, Nikki.
Thanks. Bye, everybody.